We have iconic duos all around us. Tom and Jerry, Mac and Cheese, Shrek and Donkey, Peanut Butter and Allergies. You know, when you think of one, you automatically associate the other. We also have some iconic guitar plus player duos, and this is my ranking of the top 5. Hello everyone, welcome back. My name is Ethan. This is Ethan's Guitar Room, and we're going to get right into this list. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Here's my criteria for this top 5. This guitar plus player duo has to be popular beyond just, guitar nerds. So the general population, you would expect to at least be familiar with these. Also, the guitar needs to be just that, a guitar, not a type of guitar like Slash playing a Les Paul. So that is what we're looking at, and coming in at number 5, Willie Nelson and his guitar named Trigger. Willie Nelson has been playing the same Martin nylon string classical guitar for over 50 years. This guitar has a Sitka spruce top, Brazilian rosewood back and sides with an ebony fretboard and bridge. It was built in Martin's factory in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, and it was sent to Nashville to a guy named Shot Jackson who sold and repaired guitars near the Grand Ole Opry. In 1969, a struggling musician / pig farmer came into Shot Jackson's shop and purchased that guitar. And that guy was Willie Nelson. He would later name this guitar Trigger because Roy Rogers named his horse Trigger, and Willie Nelson said his guitar was like his horse. And at the time, he needed a new guitar because he set his down on stage between sets and someone stepped on it. So he took it to Shot Jackson to get repaired, and he said, "There's no way. You'll just need to replace it." And he sold the Martin guitar to Willie Nelson for $750, which, if you adjust that with inflation to today, that is right around $6,700. And not long after he got it, on Christmas Day in 1969, Willie Nelson's house caught fire. But he managed to get out with his guitar and a bag of weed, allegedly. Following that experience, he felt a special bond with the guitar, and he's been playing it ever since. It still has the original frets. Some of them buzz or just don't really make much sound. He just says that's part of the character of his guitar. He won't really let any work be done to it except what is absolutely necessary to keep it playing. And because this was built as a classical guitar, it didn't have a pickguard on it. And after years of playing it, he wore a really nice hole right where the pickguard should be. And that's part of what makes it super recognizable. You'll never see Willie Nelson play a show without Trigger, and that is what lands him on this list. Number 4, Stevie Ray Vaughan and his number 1 Stratocaster. Stevie called this one number 1 or his first wife. It was a 1963 Fender Stratocaster, and it's been mistaken as a 59, but from what I found, it's actually a 63 with a 62 neck on it. It had a sunburst finish and a really fat neck that fit Stevie's hands, and he said he fell in love with it at first sight. At some point, the pickups were rewound, and he replaced the white pickguard with a black one, and he eventually added a gold reverse bridge that would put the tremolo arm near the low E string instead of the high E string, and he did that because he was a really big fan of Jimi Hendrix, who played a right-handed guitar upside down. And one thing that Stevie Ray Vaughan is known for is playing with very heavy strings. Most of the time he was playing with 13s, but it is said that he has at times even played up to 17 gauge strings on this guitar, and that's just insane. Heavy string gauge combined with tuning to E flat most of the time gave him his signature sound. And while on tour, playing with these super heavy strings, his fingers would get torn up and he would just fill them in with wax or glue so that he could keep playing. This guitar was featured on every album that Double Trouble recorded and went with Stevie everywhere he went, and it earned its fair share of wear and tear with very little of the finish left above the pickguard. There's even some pictures around of Stevie Ray Vaughan standing on this guitar. The story is that if the neck wasn't straight, he would set the guitar down, stand on it, and pull on the neck to get it where he wanted it. Now, it might be cheating when it comes to making a guitar recognizable, but the SRV initials were stenciled onto the top horn of the Stratocaster. Those wore off over time, and he added SRV stickers to the pickguard. Regardless, this guitar is clearly Stevie's, and it's kind of hard to imagine him without it. Number 3, Paul McCartney and his Hofner bass. Paul McCartney, the Beatles, everyone knows who they are. And since 1961, Paul McCartney's been playing violin-shaped Hofner basses. He actually didn't start out as a bass player. He originally was playing piano and guitar in the band, but after Stuart Sutcliffe left the Beatles in 1961, the rest of the band kind of elected him to take over on the bass. So he had to find an instrument, and there's a few stories out there how he got it, but it seems to be agreed on that he bought his first Hofner bass at a Steinway music store, the same Steinway that still builds pianos, in Hamburg. One version of the story says he was there looking for a bass guitar, and he saw the violin-shaped one, and being left-handed, he thought that one would be fine to flip over and play upside down, and it wouldn't look out of place. Another story says that they had a left-handed Hofner violin-shaped bass at the Steinway store that he bought, but that seems pretty unlikely. So what probably happened is he was there looking for a bass, talked to a salesperson, and they ordered him a left-handed version. He's owned several of these bass guitars since then, but a left-handed person playing a violin-shaped bass always just makes you think Paul McCartney. Coming in at number 2 is Dr. Sir Brian May and his Red Special. Brian May is quite the person. Not only has he been the guitarist for Queen since 1970 when it was formed, he also holds a PhD in astrophysics and was knighted by King Charles in 2023 for his services to music and charity. When he was a teenager, he didn't have the money to buy a Fender or a Gibson guitar. With the help of his dad, they built his Red Special. They worked on it from 1963 to 1964 and kind of just used what they had to build it. The neck is made from an old piece of wood from a fireplace. Originally, he and his father built the pickups for the guitar, but he wasn't happy with how they sounded, so eventually they got swapped out for Burns Trisonic pickups. Those are a type of single coil pickup. They're wider than what would go in a Strat, and they sound a little bit more like a P90. The body of the guitar is covered by a mahogany veneer. The center block is made from an oak dining table, and the sides are made from hollowed out blockwood. And Brian May says he specifically designed the guitar so that it would feed back. The fretboard inlays were made from pearl buttons, and he decided to put 2 dots on the 7th and 19th fret, and then 3 dots on the 12th and 24th fret, just another way that his guitar would look unique. The tremolo system was made from an old steel knife, and it used valve springs from a motorbike engine. The tremolo arm was made from a bicycle saddlebag holder and a knitting needle plastic tip. And obviously this is a pretty unique guitar. There have been many replicas made over the years, but Brian May still plays the original. At one point he was using a version of a replica, and out of frustration from its lack of tuning stability, he actually smashed that guitar. Now the Red Special is synonymous with Dr. Sir Brian May, and that's what lands it at number 2. Now before we get into honorable mentions, just wanted to remind you, if you haven't yet done so, please consider subscribing. Give this video a thumbs up, and if you'd like to support the channel, you can do that by going to ethansguitarroom.com, where you can find some merch. There's channel merch, but there's also just some guitar stuff. And you can also find me on Patreon at patreon.com/ethansguitarroom. You can follow me for free and give me some input on some of the posts I've made, or if you would like to support the channel through there, you can subscribe to one of the paying levels. Any support is appreciated, to include simply subscribing. Okay, honorable mentions. Some of these are pretty iconic and would definitely make a top 10, and others just kind of didn't fit the criteria that I was trying to follow. So first honorable mention is Prince and his Cloud guitar. It's a unique shape that only Prince has. Up next is Angus Young and the Gibson SG, and this just kind of doesn't fit the singular specific guitar. He played different SGs, but you never see him playing anything else. We have B.B. King and Lucille. This would definitely make a top 10. I just don't know that the non-guitar world would recognize him and his guitar all that well. The next one is Peter Frampton and his Les Paul that he named Phoenix. I made a full video telling the story of how that guitar got to be where it is today. We have Slash with the November Rain guitar, and that really just comes down to the music video, but he plays so many different guitars that, you know, it's kind of hard to put that on a top 5. And then my last honorable mention is Jimi Hendrix and his Monterey Strat, the one that he burned on stage. The problem is, it's not like he played this one forever, which brings me now to number 1, and you probably already know what this is going to be, Eddie Van Halen and his Frankenstrat. Now, the Frankenstrat went through several stages. From 1977 to 1979, the guitar was white with black striping on it. In 1979, he then taped over parts of the guitar and painted it in red, so that gave it the iconic red, white, and black striping that everybody recognizes. And it was at this point that he also removed the pickguard. For a short time in 1980, the guitar had a white pickguard, which now just looks completely out of place. By 1981, he was just using a trimmed portion of a black pickguard where he mounted the volume knob. Eddie would also swap the neck around quite a bit. Sometimes it had a Fender headstock, sometimes it had a Kramer headstock. He screwed a quarter to the face of the body and then removed it for a while, and then he put another quarter on it later. So because he was swapping necks all the time, Eddie had a source for buying custom built necks. And his guy for that was friends with Floyd Rose, who is now known for his locking tremolo system. But at the time, the locking tremolo system didn't exist yet. Now, through these connections, Eddie ended up getting one of the very first prototypes of the Floyd Rose, but he wasn't quite satisfied with it. Because of his playing style and using all the dive bombs and stuff like that, he needed something that would stay in tune better. He liked the idea of a locking system, but that early version didn't have any way for him to adjust the tuning without loosening the nut. So he asked Floyd Rose to add some tuners to the system, and a while later, Mr. Rose came back to him and he had utterly failed. He did add tuners, but he added them to the nut, and they required a wrench to turn. So that's not what Eddie was looking for. He wanted something that he could tune quickly between songs, so that just didn't work. Finally, with the FRT4 tremolo system, Eddie finally had the fine tuners down at the bridge. Similar to what we have today, it went through a few different changes, but Floyd Rose says that he probably would have got to that design eventually, but Eddie Van Halen definitely pushed to get there much quicker. Now, the Frankenstrat also has a lot of odd things on it. There are reflectors on the back, there's some tape across the front where he put picks, and there's a random switch in the middle pickup cavity that doesn't do anything. The Frankenstrat has been copied many times. There are near perfect reproductions with all the same wear marks, all the weird quirks that guitar has. And then there are other models that are brand new guitars with just that paint job on it. The red, white, and black striping pattern has become synonymous with Eddie, and today you can buy shirts, license plate frames, flip-flops, neckties, and a whole lot more. The Frankenstrat is unmistakable. People immediately associate that pattern with Eddie, and that is why I placed this in the top spot. Let me know what you think in the comments. Did I leave something out, or is there a different order that you would have arranged these in? I'm sure if you disagree, you're already typing. Anyways, that's it for this one. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.